The appearance of the Opel Corsa C has so much in common with its predecessor, especially in profile and full face, that sometimes it may seem that this is not a new generation of a small car, but a restyling product. But looking at the rear of the car, I was convinced of the opposite. Expressive lights, suspended high on racks and neatly completing the oval of the rear door glass, are completely different from those used on the old Corsa B. It's still a new model. The creators simply did not have the right to radically change the design of the car, which is in great demand among European buyers. The predecessor was sold around the world in more than 6 million copies. As before, Corsa was represented by two main body styles, 3- and 5-door hatchbacks, which were produced in Germany, Eisenach, and Spain, Zaragoza, and were intended for the European market. For third world countries in Brazil and Argentina, General Motors plants, recall that Opel is part of this corporation, produced slightly modified 5-door hatchbacks and a 4-door sedan sold under the Chevrolet Corsa brand. After the Astra G, the Corsa C became the second Opel with a fully galvanized body. Thanks to this, it was possible to solve the problem of low immunity to the red disease, which was relevant earlier for all models of this brand. Rust is difficult to meet even on small cars of the first years of production, which have been operated on our roads from the very beginning. According to the results of the Euro NCAP crash tests conducted in 2000, Corsa C deserved 3 stars out of 5 possible, which is mediocre. But 2 years later, passive safety was improved, which allowed the model to be awarded 4 stars. Passengers are protected by the so-called rigid protective cocoon of the passenger compartment, airbags, seat belt pretensioners, and active front head restraints, which were used for the first time on a B-Class model, which, in a rear collision, moves slightly forward, reducing the force of head impact on the head restraint. As a rule, all Corsa C are well equipped. In addition to the above-listed security features, there is a central lock, a height-adjustable steering wheel, power windows, a head unit, and often air conditioning. Many cars, especially pre-styling ones, were equipped with a cassette recorder. It is not difficult to replace it with a modern CD receiver. At branded service stations you can purchase a special adapter for 1 or 2 DIN head units from $75. Salon leaves a good impression. The plastic of the panels is hard, but it looks expensive. Nowadays it is called soft look. The finish is quite high quality and even over time does not make extraneous sounds. In general, visibility is not bad, and visibility is limited only by 2 wide rear pillars. Compared to many competitors, the interior of the Corsa C is spacious, which is facilitated by one of the largest wheelbases, at that time, in the class, 2,490 millimeters, and the length of the car, 3,815 millimeters. But despite this, if 3 passengers sit in the gallery, they will feel the elbow of a friend. Engine. Despite the fact that a wide range of power units was intended for the Corsa C, only 2 petrol 4-cylinder versions of 1.2 liters and 1.4 liters were officially imported to us. Although sometimes there are cars equipped with a 3-cylinder 1.0-liter engine, diesel versions are almost impossible to find. The timing of most gasoline engines uses a metal chain. The exception is the 1.4-liter twin-port and the 1.8-liter engine of the charged version of the GSI. They have a timing belt drive. However, do not hope that the chain drive does not need maintenance. According to the experts who advised us, after 50 to 60,000 kilometers the chain tensioner may become unusable, which will manifest itself in increased noise of the unit. Branded spare part, $62. The chain, on average, takes care of about 100,000 kilometers, and then, in order to avoid trouble, it is advisable to replace it together with sprockets, damper, and tensioner. The timing belt in engines with a volume of 1.4 liters and 1.8 liters must be changed every 60,000 kilometers, along with 2 bypass and tension rollers. During this procedure, it is also desirable to install a new pump, which, based on operating experience, rarely nurses 2-belt life. And the failure of the water pump threatens with the fatal meeting of valves with pistons. All engines use ignition modules that replace the traditional coil and distributor. If the candles are not replaced in time, this expensive part may fail. When working on dirty, worn candles, the load on the module increases. Transmission. All Corsa are front-wheel drive. 3 types of gearboxes were intended for them: a 5-speed manual, 5-speed Easytronic robotic mechanics, and a 4-speed automatic with the torque converter. Easytronic was aggregated with 3 gasoline engines, twin-port, with a volume of 1.0 liters and 1.4 liters, as well as 1.2 liters. The usual automatic was installed only on 1.4-liter engines, but the mechanics could be used on all versions, gasoline and diesel. Many cars are equipped with Easytronic. It is a manual gearbox equipped with an automatic clutch and gearshift control mechanism, but manual shifting is also possible. True, not everyone will like Easytronic. Firstly, it is characterized by thoughtfulness and unpleasant jerks when shifting gears. To achieve relative smoothness is possible only with a leisurely ride in the half-pedal, gas, in automatic mode. Secondly, this unit turned out to be unreliable during active driving. Failures of expensive control units were noted. Gear shifting, $740, and clutch, $1,400. For those who are used to driving actively, we advise you to look for a version equipped with the usual reliable and unpretentious mechanics. Versions with the classic automatic are rare, so it was difficult to summarize the experience of its operation. Suspension. In general, the suspension is somewhat stiff, but compared to its predecessor, the smoothness of the Corsa C has been noticeably improved. Softer than many competitors, it turns out, and running. To reduce vibration, the front suspension and steering gear were mounted on a subframe. A traditional McPherson is used in front, and a semi-dependent with a torsion beam in the back. On our roads, most often, after 30,000 kilometers, you will have to change the bushings of the anti-roll bar. Racks go longer, somewhere around 40 to 50,000 kilometers. The most loaded vertical silent blocks of the front levers can withstand a run of 80 to 100,000 kilometers, and ball bearings, 100 to 120,000 kilometers. The front shock absorbers also serve about 100,000 kilometers. The rear ones last longer, and the silent blocks of the rear semi-independent beam are almost eternal. On most versions, wheel bearings are changed separately. The exception is modifications with rear disc brakes, where the bearing is supplied with the hub. Steering. On all Corsa C, electric power steering is used, which changes the degree of gain depending on the speed of movement. As practice shows, the steering can bring an unpleasant surprise. There have been cases of rack failure, which, when driving through bumps, is manifested by a characteristic knock, reminiscent of suspension wear. The rail is non-separable, so it has to be changed entirely. Original assembly, $660. Replacement, $160. Tie rods on average walk 60 to 80,000 kilometers. In principle, the Opel Corsa C is a good city car. He flaunts chips that few competitors have. The car is perfect as an expensive gift for a lady of the heart or a beloved daughter, and it is also quite useful for young students of student age. But do not hope that, having become the owner of this relatively new model, you will not be faced with its repair for a long time. Corsa C is endowed with 2 problem nodes, steering and Easytronic control units, which can unexpectedly fail during operation. Their restoration is expensive, so it is necessary to have funds for the treatment of her characteristic sores.